What's up, YouTube? How are you doing today? Chana Do Your Techno Dad here. And I'm not sure if you remember, but back in January, I made a couple of videos about bad Atmos, and it ruffled a lot of feathers. Now, it's taken me quite some time, but I am finally able to actually give you a demonstration of what I was talking about in those videos. So this video is a little bit different from any of the other videos I've ever made, and that's because I mixed it in 714 Dolby Atmos. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, that is correct. Your boy is making Atmos, and this is my first actual video. So if you're planning to get into Dolby Atmos, or you already have Dolby Atmos, or you're a Dolby Atmos mixing engineer, you definitely want to check out this demonstration because it's going to point out a few of the, I guess, limitations of Dolby Atmos as it relates to when Dolby Atmos matrixes. That means it folds down into a smaller setup. So a lot of good, useful information, and it will be demonstrated to show that this is actually what is happening, and some notes for you guys to take as consumers and as mixing engineers, definitely some notes as well. Now, there are two ways to experience this demo. One is to continue watching here on YouTube. I will make a binaural recording of the demonstration in this room so you guys can hear all the spatial stuff happening via YouTube. You will need to use headphones. I would suggest bigger headphones, not just earbuds. But the better way, the best way, my recommended way of you experiencing this demo is to actually download the file and stick it into a 4K Blu-ray player or your Plex server or whatever, as it is going to come up on your AV receiver as Dolby Atmos via Dolby Digital Plus. So a big shout out to my patrons for helping me figure out what platforms the file does work on and doesn't work on. And so far, they told me it works on the Sony X800, Sony X800M2. I've been using it with the LG UBK90. It works there. It does not seem to work on the Panasonic UB420, so I would imagine it does not work on all the Panasonic players. Sorry, Panasonic guys. I have yet to check it on the Xbox, but if I do check it on the Xbox, I'll put something up on screen saying that it does work on the Xbox, and then you can try it out that way. Again, it is the best way to experience the demo. It may sound like a pain, but you will click the link in the description, and then you got to sign up for my newsletter, and as soon as you do that, you will get the file. Why am I having you sign up for the newsletter? Because I'm going to continue to make brand new Dolby Atmos content, and I will send out an email when something new is available so you guys can directly just download it and listen to it and check it out on your Atmos system. Now, I'm super excited to share with you guys more and more content, and I do want to give a big shout out and thank you to Monoprice for sending over these THX satellite speakers, which have been instrumental in me starting up making Atmos. And if you're looking for Atmos like height channels, these things are definitely worth it. $250 for a pair, so you can get 4 height channels for $500. That's pretty good. They are flat down to 80 hertz, and they have a concentric design. I'll have a full video about these guys later, but I do want to get into this demo. So yeah, download the file, put it on a thumb drive, stick it in your 4K player, and follow along in your home theater. This is going to be the coolest thing. This is the first video I've ever made like this. So when you're done, make sure you come back to this video and let me know what you think about the video, about this format, and making a video in Atmos. And yeah, just let me know. All right, let's get into the demo. Oh yeah. What is up, Techno fam? Welcome to the very first video of its kind, a Dolby Atmos video that I've never made. So we're trying this out. I've been working a whole lot on this video. It's taken a long time. Now, one of the things I'm going to have up on screen for you is the renderer from Logic Pro. This is the Dolby Atmos renderer, and the little balls flying around, you'll be able to know where exactly the sound is supposed to be coming from. And then you're going to compare it with where the sound is coming from in your space on your Dolby Atmos setup. So right now you should be noticing that my voice is coming out of this center channel. Typically in a movie, that's where the vocal's coming out of, right? So let's just quickly go around the room. I mixed this in 7.1.4, so let's see how that works in your space and see if Dolby Atmos is matrixing properly, okay? So from the center, let's move left into your front left speaker. All right, here we are on the front left speaker. And now let's move into your left surround speaker. All right, now let's take it on back to the surround back left. Now you should be hearing me from kind of behind you, right? Behind you on the left side. Now let's jump over to the right-hand side. Surround back right is where we're at right now. And now moving forward to the right surround speaker. Here we are in the right surround speaker. And finally, let's make our round trip back up to the front of the room, into the right speaker, and finally back into the center. All right, so now let's check out the height channel. So let's go up into the right front height. Here we are. I feel very, very tall right now. Just kidding, just kidding. All right, let's go to the left front height now. Here we are on the left-hand side in the front of the room. And now let's make our way all the way back to the left rear height in the back of the room. And now let's move over to the right rear height channel. So here we are in the back top of the room. All right, let's do something cool from here. Let's go to the top back middle and go all the way down to ear level. So now my voice should be coming right behind you. And let's slowly move to the front of the room, through your body, and into the center channel. So now that we've walked around the room, are you guys ready to dive into this Atmos? All right, let's do it. So when we think about, mixing a song, I have been a music producer for a while, and I know that when I'm, dealing with a stereo mix, I've got a left channel and I've got a right channel, right? Left channel and right channel. Now, one of the things I do, and majority of mixing, engineers would do, is they check the mix in mono, right? So they'll go from the stereo and they'll boop, drop it down into mono. And what they're doing is they're making sure that all the elements of the song still play in mono, because, there are still a lot of mono, devices. Our cell phones, even though they're stereo, the speakers are so close together, it's pretty much a mono thing, right? And so they would check in mono. Also, if you're DJing like I am pretty much every weekend, you know that you're pretty much just putting out a mono signal. So everything still needs to be there in mono, just like it is in stereo when you're listening at home. And, checking the mix is what, mixing engineers do. That's why they have so many different speakers at their mixing station. They'll check the mix in the car, they'll check it on a laptop, they'll check it on earbuds, all this kind of stuff. They're checking the mix. And so that's kind of like what the whole gist is of this video. Now, I'm not sure what the Atmos mixing engineer, what their workflow is, but I would assume they are checking the mix in mono. And what does that mean in an Atmos configuration? Well, let's say they have a 7.1.4 mixing studio like I do. So checking the mix in mono, to me, that means they would be checking the mix on the lowest Atmos configuration there is. Consumers start off with a 5.1.2 Atmos configuration. 5 ear level speakers, the 1 subwoofer, and 2 height channels. In the past, with channel-based mixing, if you didn't have those speakers, you wouldn't hear sound from there. But now with object-based formats like Dolby Atmos and DTS:X, you can have the objects and have the sound still play, but they're just going to be matrixed into the available speaker from wherever that point in a 3D space is, making sound from. So again, I don't know what their methods are. All I know is what I've discovered with my research. So let's get into that right now. First things first is the ear level speakers. Let's talk about the ear level speakers, right? Now, I started my Atmos journey in 2016 with a 5.1.2 setup. About a year later, I upgraded to 5.1.4. And then maybe year and a half later, I put in this 7.1.4. And that's when I noticed something interesting. My couch is up against the wall, and my surrounds can't be behind me. They're coming at me from the sides. Now I know there's a lot of people that have this limitation because, you're putting this Atmos setup in your living room or a small to medium sized bedroom. You have your main listening position up against the wall, so the only place you can put surround speakers are to the sides. So let's do this right now. For those of you following along that have a 714, if you want to actually follow along, you can turn off your surround backs, and that will leave you with side surrounds only, and tell your AV receiver that you don't have any surround backs. Or you could keep going in 714. And for those of you that are in 514, make sure to look at the Atmos renderer and see where the sound is supposed to actually be. So right now, you should be hearing my voice from the surround back left. Surround back left, here we are in the surround back left. Now for those of you that have a 5 ear level system where your surround speaker is behind you, you should be hearing me from over your left shoulder, 100%. Those of you with the 7.1.4 setup, you should be hearing me over your left shoulder as well. Those of you with the 5 ear level speaker setup where the speakers are on the side of you, you're going to be hearing my voice coming right at your head at your left ear. So here's one of the things, right? Is this correct? No, this isn't correct. All right, now let's go to the surround back right. So this is where I'm at, and I should be coming in over your right shoulder. But if you have 5 ear level speakers and your speakers are flanking your main listening position, I'm coming in right at your ear, right there at your right ear. I know the video's probably a little reversed. I'll have to work on that. But anyway, that's what's happening from your vantage point, right? So one last thing. Let me put my voice directly behind you. Now it's directly behind you in the room, so both the surround back left and the surround back right speakers should be firing right now and giving you the illusion that my voice is directly behind you. Now again, if you're following along in 514 with side surround speakers only, you're going to notice my voice is not behind you. My voice is on either side of you. So now Dolby would say, well, this isn't a limitation of how Dolby Atmos matrixes. No. This is a limitation of your room. So Dolby will be over here like, look, it's not me, it's you. Or it's not you, it's me. No, I had it right the first time. Dolby will be like, it's not me, it's you. Your setup. So I'll put a pic on the screen of the Dolby Atmos spec for a 5 ear level speaker system. And you'll notice that the surround speakers are behind you and a little off to the sides. Little angle, but they're behind you. So Dolby does not have it in their spec that your surround speakers are supposed to be on the sides of you. Now, I do think this is a big deal. I don't think it's a deal breaker, but I do think this is a big deal because sounds coming from behind me are now on the either side of me. So that kind of and I didn't know it until I created this 714 system here and listened to the same movie here and then went back upstairs, listened to my 514 and noticed these differences. And I'm like, oh, why is this happening? And this is the situation. It is a limitation of the room. And so when you're going to design your Dolby Atmos setup, if you have your couch up against the wall and you have to do side surrounds only and you can't put any speakers directly behind you, just know that you're not going to be hearing things correctly or as the mixing engineer mixed them. So I would encourage you, if you are a Dolby Atmos mixing engineer, to, I know, sounds a bit ridiculous, set up another room where you have a consumer level 512 setup so you can check your mix in mono, essentially, right? And I'm not hating on Dolby Atmos here. I'm just trying to highlight some limitations so everybody has the proper expectation. Because when you talk to these people at like wherever, Best Buy or whatever, these home theater companies, they're like, oh yeah, it's the best thing since sliced bread. But if you don't have a 714, you are kind of missing out on where the spatial cues are happening because of maybe a limitation of your room. Anything happening in your surround back speakers are going to be happening in your surround speakers. And if your surround speakers are on either side of you, instead of hearing sounds that are supposed to be coming at you from behind or moving around behind you, they're going to be coming right at your ears, right at your face. And that is totally different from the way the mixing engineer mixed the sounds. You can see exactly where the sound is supposed to be in the room, and if it's not there, then it's just not there. And again, every room is not perfect. My room upstairs is not perfect, definitely. It's far from perfect for any kind of home theater, but that's all I got. And I'm not going to let it stop me from enjoying whatever's out there just because it's coming from the wrong side. But just knowing that, I think everybody should be aware that you're not hearing everything exactly the way it's mixed due to the limitations of your room. All right, so let's leave the surround back alone, okay? Let's go ahead and readjust your system to exactly where it was before. So if you have a 714, put in your receiver that you're back to 714. Go ahead, pause the video, do whatever you need to do. So before we were talking about essentially having 6 speakers on an ear level, right? 2 front speakers, obviously not including the center. 2 side speakers, that's your side surrounds, and then 2 speakers in the back of the room, surround back. With height channels, we've pretty much got 2 pairs, right? Some of you do have 3 pairs. I'm not sure exactly how these mixing engineers are doing it in their studios, but I've seen some studios where it's like 916, so they're running front wides, and all this kind of crazy stuff. 3 pairs of height channels. For right now, let's talk about front height left and right and rear height left and right. So I'm going to play a plane flying over, and I'm going to automate the object so it goes over us at the right time. And it is a stereo sound clip that I have, which is why you'll see 2 of the sound balls flying around instead of just one like you have been noticing with my voice. And I do think one thing for sure is a must. I think if objects flying around in this 3D space, from my experience, it's actually better for them to be mono sounds as opposed to stereo sounds. But for this purpose, let's check it out and hear how it sounds. Okay, wasn't that cool? I thought that was pretty cool. Now, one of the things that I did here was I had the object at the very top. So in this little scale, it's kind of like 0 is ear level and 1 is the height channel. So if I wanted to go halfway up, it'd be 0.5 or 50%, or 3/4 of the way up, 75% or 0.75, right? You get the idea. Now, one of the things that's interesting is that if we have only 2 height channels, now if you want to follow along, you guys can remove your rear height channels, so you only have 2 height channels. You can go down to 512 if you would like to. Go ahead, pause the video, do that, and come back. So to see exactly what's going on, and for you mixing engineers out there, definitely this is something that's kind of important. Because when you don't have the rear heights, the front back, it's not doing anything. It's not doing anything. Let's play the same sound, the airplane flying over, with just 2 height channels, and you'll see what I'm talking about. Okay, here we go. Okay, so did you notice? The sound was there in those 2 speakers, right? Just in those 2 speakers. You're not going to get any front back movement because there are no rear heights. Got it? And so if you are putting together a 512 and not planning on going to 4 height channels, highly recommend you do them like top, middle, center of the room, whether they're height channels, angled down, mounted on the wall, or, high up, or in ceilings. I would highly recommend that. Front height is okay. I would never recommend just rear height. No, you don't want to do that. The middle height is like the middle height location, right? Middle of the room is probably going to be your best bet, like just overhead. Now, the problem is with anything flying overhead, that object really needs to be at the very top. And I tried this out, so let's just try it out with my voice. Here I am at 75% height in the front heights, in the front of the room. If you want to walk up to your front left speaker that's at ear level, you'll notice my voice is coming out of that speaker as well as the height channel, okay? So front left height and front left main, my voice is coming out of both of those speakers because I'm at a 75% or 0.75 elevation with this object. Now let's move my voice to the middle of the room, still keeping it at 75%. You might hear a little bit in your front height left channel, but for the most part, you're hearing everything coming out of your left surround channel. I sorry, my hands are reversed. I totally forgot about that. But you're hearing my voice from your left side surround or your surround back, depending on what your configuration is. But that is kind of a problem, okay? Now, I experimented and I printed all these out. I printed out a 75% elevation, 80%, 85%, 90% elevation, 95% elevation. And what I noticed is every single time I did anything but 100, I would have sound coming from my ear level speakers. So if the mixing engineer didn't know this, and they were just having the object fly in, even if it's 80% elevation, you're going to have sounds coming out of your surround channels. And that's not good for this reason. If you only have the two height channels in the front, two front heights, and you're running 512, what's going to happen is this. The airplane sound is going to come and it's going to go down. It's going to come up and it's going to go down. And there's a plane flew over our house like a few hours ago. Is that what it sounded like to me? No, plane went and just kept going up there. And this is where, again, if the mixing engineer would check the mix in mono, effectively have a second setup somewhere else, not in their mixing room, of a consumer level 512 setup, so that they can actually check, and they'll be like, oh, that plane is going from the height channels now like behind my head. Not like behind my head up there, but behind my head like down here at ear level. And that is just not good. So this is something you also have to think about. Like, this is a big limitation of the way Dolby Atmos matrixes. It's literally the elevation needs to be full 100%. It has to be full one for nothing to come out of the ear level speakers. And this is something that you wouldn't know unless you were messing around with it like me, just to see what happens. So if the mixing engineer is mixing something in a movie and he's mixing on 714 and he has the plane or helicopter, whatever, flying over, you're going to have that front to back in the mixing studio, and it's going to, dissipate off into the distance. And, he's probably got it at 80% elevation. But when you go to listen back to it on a 512 Atmos setup in your home, the plane or whatever is going to go like this and then dive down into your surround speakers. That's not how it should work. So if you're a mixing engineer and you're watching this, if you have anything flying overhead, it has to be 100% up at the very top, max elevation, for it to sound correct. And that's really what we're after with this. We want everything to sound natural. And a few of the ways that Dolby Atmos matrixes onto a smaller setup, things just don't sound natural. You have sounds coming from different speakers. You have sounds that are supposed to be up top, and then they dive down into your ear level speakers. And this is what I was talking about in those videos. And finally, I'm here able to demonstrate that for you guys. So what is a mixing engineer supposed to do? Are they supposed to mix on all kinds of different monitoring systems? Can they mix on 512 with front heights and the surrounds or side surrounds, or 512 with middle heights and side surrounds, 512 with front heights and rear surrounds, 512 with middle heights and rear surrounds, then 514, and then 712 with front heights 712 with middle heights, and then 714, and so on and so forth. You can see that like do they have to check the mix on all of these things? Chances are no, but I mean, if they were trying to optimize for the end user system, that's really what it would boil down to. And man, that is a lot of time. That is a lot of time. It's taken me so long to make this video and find out all these little things, like you guys have no clue. And I can only imagine that movie studios got deadlines, they've got budgets, so that's not going to happen. I do kind of have like a solution, at least for one of the things, like maybe on the 4K disc release of the movie where it says Dolby Atmos, maybe they can put the configuration it was mixed in. Like if it said Dolby Atmos 7.1.4, like when you see that 714, oh, okay, I have a 714. That means this movie is optimized for my playback system. Or let's say if it was mixed on a 916 and you have a 916, be like, oh, cool. It's going to be taking use of all of my speakers because that's how they mixed it. And yes, I know this is object versus channel, but it still doesn't work 100% correctly because we don't know who the end user is going to be and what kind of system they have. And that's really the situation. Now, I did think up of another solution. You know, we have so many audio tracks on 4K disc, like they can get rid of like 20 of the languages that we don't really need. I know I'm totally being insensitive to people that speak other languages. But if they need space on a disc, couldn't they have Dolby Atmos 7.1.4 and then another Dolby Atmos track that's 5.1.2, so that at least you know that, you know, whichever system you have, you can select that type of Dolby Atmos, so it's optimized for your system. I think that would be a great way to move forward and making sure everybody that's trying to experience Dolby Atmos has a very similar experience. It's still not going to be the same, right? Because of what I talked about with the, you know, rear surrounds versus the side surrounds in a 7.1 and a 5.1 setup. However, it would be better, definitely, with what's happening spatially and with the objects flying around. I don't know if the, you know, studios would want to do that. They'd have to pay the mixing engineer to mix an entire movie in two types of Atmos configurations and then check them, make sure it's all legit. And then they'd have to put that into, the authoring of the 4K disc or whatever. So I don't know. That's a solution I was thinking about. Why don't you guys tell me what you think? Did you like the demo? Did you experience it in the way that I experienced it? What do you think about the way Dolby Atmos matrixes for smaller systems? And yeah, just let me know your thoughts. Don't forget to go back to the video and comment it up. So there it is, ladies and gentlemen, and I hope you've enjoyed this Atmos demonstration. I have started messing around with mixing a couple of tracks in Atmos, so keep your eyes peeled. It's probably going to take me a little bit of time because I have so much other stuff going on. I got to DJ a whole bunch of places still. But I do want to get you guys some new Atmos content whenever I can. You know, I'll notify you through the newsletter, so make sure you guys are all signed up for that. Oh yeah, don't forget to like and subscribe and all that YouTube nonsense. We'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.